They say a crown doesn't sparkle brighter than a child's pride. But what happens when the sparkle blinds those who think they deserve it more? It was supposed to be just another elegant royal banquet. No fanfare, no announcements, no fireworks. The kind of event where crystal glasses clink gently over polite conversation and royal protocol keeps emotions bottled behind trained smiles. But no one expected what happened that night at the Château de Chambord in France. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. No one, especially not Meghan Markle, and certainly not Prince Harry, because that was the night Princess Charlotte, the soft-spoken, sharp-eyed daughter of Prince William and Catherine, was handed something no royal child in modern history had received. A new title, not a ceremonial one, not a passing trinket. A title steeped in mystery, legacy, and old war secrets buried beneath the gilded floors of the British monarchy. One that rewrote Charlotte's place in royal history and quietly erased someone else's from the conversation entirely. Lilibet Diana, Meghan Markle's daughter, once presented as the modern heartbeat of a new royal generation, was never even mentioned. And that silence? That deliberate, chilling silence? It broke Meghan. Let's rewind. Just 36 hours before the banquet, Meghan was spotted shopping in Montecito wearing a sunshine yellow linen dress, oversized sunglasses, and a rehearsed smile. Paparazzi caught her pausing for the cameras, holding a book titled Raising Royalty, an unsubtle signal to her critics that she still considered herself very much part of the crown's orbit. But insiders say the smile was thin, forced, because something had changed. A leak had hit the tabloids. Not the big players, not the BBC or the Times, but smaller, sharp-tongued royal gossip outlets. Whispered chatter about King Charles planning a special announcement at the French estate. An announcement involving Charlotte. Meghan's reaction? Not rage. Not yet. No, it was laughter. Dismissive, cool, smug laughter. One of her aides allegedly told a friend. She said Charlotte could be crowned the Empress of the universe, and it still wouldn't touch Lilibet's star power. But behind closed doors, Meghan was pacing. Because she knew how this game was played. She'd tried for years to position Lilibet as the spiritual heir to Princess Diana, biracial, American-born, a symbol of progress and transformation. She imagined Lilibet gracing magazine covers, speaking at the UN, redefining the monarchy from Malibu to Marrakesh. And now, here was Charlotte, a quiet 9-year-old, stealing the entire narrative with a single announcement. The banquet was set beneath vaulted ceilings, with candlelight dancing across tapestries older than America itself. Princess Charlotte entered not as a child, but as a composed royal figure, her posture unnaturally perfect for someone her age. Dressed in deep navy with silver trim, she was flanked by Princess and Lady Louise Windsor, both whispering quietly behind her. King Charles was already seated at the center table, Camilla to his right, Catherine to his left. The camera crews were banned. No formal press was allowed. And yet, somehow, the entire world would know what happened within hours. When the time came for the toast, King Charles stood with a parchment scroll, a relic gesture, used only for moments steeped in symbolic gravitas. He cleared his throat, his eyes briefly flicking toward William and Catherine, then toward Charlotte. What he read shook the room. Let it be known that from this night forth, Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Wales shall carry the title bestowed in memory of those who bore the burdens of the crown's quiet war, the guardian of the crown's legacy. Not Princess of X, not Duchess of Y, guardian of the crown's legacy. The phrasing was deliberate, weighty, with connotations that stretched beyond ceremonial fluff. It was a title whispered of only in royal security circles. An ancient designation, dating back to the post-World War II era, when one royal heir had to be secretly trained in everything from crisis diplomacy to deep state protection measures. Some call it a myth. Others knew better. And now, that forgotten title, long absent from the royal register, had been resurrected. For Charlotte. Within minutes, the reaction behind palace walls turned electric. Prince Edward was overheard saying, "Didn't even know that still existed." Camilla looked like she'd swallowed ice. Prince William barely blinked, but insiders say he'd been told just hours earlier by King Charles, with strict instructions to tell no one, not even Catherine. And then there was Princess Anne. She rose from her seat after the announcement, placed a gentle hand on Charlotte's back, and whispered something to her. Cameras weren't allowed, but lip readers later guessed the phrase was, "It begins now." That moment, those 3 words, would go viral in just under 6 hours. But what came next happened far away from the banquet hall. Thousands of miles away, in Montecito, Meghan Markle had just returned from what was supposed to be a quiet day at home. She declined all calls. Her publicist had been told to stand down for the weekend. Prince Harry was in another room, reportedly playing with Archie. Then the news hit, not from a royal source, but from Twitter. Screenshots of the speech, photos snapped by a staff member, followed by a blurry image of Charlotte holding the scroll. And not one single mention of Lilibet. No honorary nod. No message of inclusion. Nothing. Sources say Meghan stared at the photo for a full 5 minutes before reacting. And then, the scream. An earth-shattering, echoing scream that sent the family dog bolting from the room. One of the housekeepers later claimed she dropped a tray in shock when she heard Meghan shout, "She was supposed to be ours." That title was supposed to be ours. She wasn't just upset. She felt robbed. This wasn't about recognition. It was about legacy. It was about power. And she believed it had been stolen from her. But here's the twist. It may have never been hers to begin with. Because just days before the banquet, a classified letter had been opened. Not by Charles. Not by William. But by Princess Anne. The letter, part of Queen Elizabeth II's sealed posthumous instructions, contained handwritten notations. One of them, according to insiders, included the following line. "Let Charlotte be prepared. She holds the flame now." Flame? What flame? Some speculate it was metaphorical, that Elizabeth foresaw a time when Charlotte would have to represent the heart of the monarchy, as others faltered. But others believe it was more literal. A warning. A passing of the torch only meant for one bloodline. Not borrowed. Not branded. And certainly not bought through Hollywood. Now here's where things twist even deeper. Why the timing? Why now? Why give Charlotte this title when tensions with Harry and Meghan were at a slow simmer? Because the royal family knows something the public doesn't. And someone behind the scenes may have finally said, enough is enough. One royal aide allegedly told a friend, the title wasn't just for Charlotte. It was a line in the sand. A silent but potent message. The future has already been chosen. And it does not include California. But the question now is this, what does Meghan do next? She's not one to stay quiet. She's not one to accept erasure. And the cliff she's now standing on isn't just public. It's personal. It's global. The woman who once shook the monarchy to its core is now shaking with rage. The only thing left is her next move. And what Meghan allegedly did within 24 hours of Charlotte's title might go down as the boldest or the most reckless act of her royal journey yet. Because what she did wasn't just a reaction. It was a declaration of war. And it began with one phone call. To someone no one expected. Not the palace. Not Harry. Not even the press. But what came next would change everything, and no one saw it coming. What does it look like when a royal crown shifts ever so slightly toward the unexpected? It doesn't happen with trumpets, or golden chariots, or red carpet fanfare. Sometimes it happens in silence. Sometimes, in the blink of an eye, a child is handed not just a name, but a destiny. And that's exactly what happened at the Château de Chambord. Behind towering stone walls that had witnessed centuries of European war and peace, far from London's roaring press and California's flashing cameras, a dinner was held. Small, intimate, supposedly uneventful. But then came the scroll. Let's set the scene properly. It's dusk. The French sky is fading to gold and blue. The estate is surrounded by armed security and anti-drone technology. Not a single photograph has permission to leave this property. No paparazzi. No press vans. No inside source Instagram stories. The only people invited are those with direct bloodlines or operational ties to the royal family. Even Prince Harry wasn't invited. And yet, this evening would set off a firestorm that would burn all the way to Montecito. Princess Charlotte had been quiet all day. Staff members noticed it. Her brother George, usually the one expected to play the solemn air, was oddly giddy, teasing her with an affectionate smirk. Louis, of course, had no idea what was coming. He just kept asking when dessert would be served. But Charlotte? She seemed focused, even nervous. Why? Because for the first time in her young life, Charlotte had been asked to memorize a code, a set of phrases, a small speech, a posture, and she'd been asked not to tell anyone, not even her mother, not even her father, only Princess, and knew the full scope of what would happen that night. And Anne, she'd sworn an oath long ago, one that no one, not even King Charles, had ever dared ask her to break. This wasn't just royal tradition. This was sacred protocol. Because the title Charlotte was about to receive hadn't been used in over 70 years. The dinner itself was seemingly routine. Long table, candelabras, French cuisine selected with surgical care, down to the royal chef traveling with them from Buckingham Palace. But toward the end of the evening, when the second course had been cleared and the room quieted for the cheese and port, King Charles stood. He was holding something no one had seen before. A dark blue scroll, edged in gold, sealed with wax. This wasn't a toast. It was a declaration. With a deep breath, King Charles addressed the table. Tonight, he began, we remember not just our history, but our future. A future that rests on more than duty. It rests on honor. He paused. The crown is not a reward. It is a burden. And tonight, one among us agrees to carry a portion of that burden, quietly, with no parade, no spectacle, and no applause. A ripple passed through the room. Even Queen Camilla seemed caught off guard. Then he said it. Let it be known, Charles continued, voice steady but soft, that from this night forth, Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana of Wales shall carry the title bestowed in memory of those who bore the burdens of the crown's quiet war, the guardian of the crown's legacy. And just like that, a storm was born. There was no standing ovation, no crown placed on her head. Instead, Princess Charlotte stood slowly, walked toward her grandfather, and curtsied. He handed her the scroll. She accepted it with both hands and looked him in the eye. King Charles gave a faint nod. No words, no kiss on the cheek, no hand on the shoulder. But something passed between them, something generations in the making. What was this title? Why had it never been heard of before? And why now? You won't find Guardian of the Crown's Legacy on any public list of royal titles. That's because it's not ceremonial. It's operational. Dating back to the post-war era, it was created in secret after World War II. A classification buried deep within the royal protocols after King George VI was allegedly warned that Britain's enemies might target royal heirs, not just for death, but for manipulation. So a plan was made. A failsafe. One child in each generation would be quietly trained, not as a ruler, but as a guardian. Not to sit on the throne, but to protect the integrity of it. The crown's conscience. The unseen protector. A whisperer in corridors. A watcher in shadows. That's what Charlotte was chosen to become. Princess Anne knew this, because she had once been considered for the same role. But as the monarchy modernized, the tradition fell dormant. Until now. Why Charlotte? Because she had already shown something that couldn't be taught. Discretion, focus, and empathy, tempered by steel. Royal staff reported Charlotte's habit of taking notes during meetings, her photographic memory, her unnerving ability to recall names and procedures. She never cried when scolded. She never bragged when praised. She was, in the words of one senior courtier, a tactical mind in a child's body. And King Charles saw it. More importantly, Princess Anne confirmed it. So the title was revived. In secret. Until now. As the dinner concluded, guests left quietly. Charlotte returned to her room, where a small leather-bound booklet had been placed on her bed. Inside, her first briefing. Her training would begin that week. Language, intelligence analysis, crisis strategy, and ancient royal law. Not taught in schools. Not taught in universities. Taught only behind stone walls and under locked doors. Somewhere in that same booklet was a name. The first person she would have to monitor. A person of interest. That name, Meghan Markle. And while Charlotte was being prepared for a destiny she hadn't asked for, Meghan was preparing for war. She hadn't received a single call. Not a single courtesy heads up. She found out through a viral tweet, of all things. And when she did, her first instinct wasn't confusion. It was fury. Meghan knew what this meant. Not just the title, but the silence surrounding Lilibet. Not one line in King Charles's speech acknowledged the Sussex children. Not one word of inclusion. To Meghan, this wasn't oversight. It was exile. Deliberate. Cold. And permanent. She called Harry. He didn't answer. He was asleep, or pretending to be. And when he finally picked up an hour later, he didn't sound surprised. Because King Charles had told him, but he hadn't told Meghan. And that's when she allegedly said the words that would echo across the Atlantic. If they're choosing Charlotte, they're unchoosing us. And with that, Meghan hung up and began making her own list of allies, of contacts, of media producers, of secrets. Because if Charlotte was going to carry the legacy, then Meghan was going to rewrite it, one headline at a time. But what she did next wouldn't involve Netflix. It wouldn't involve Oprah. It wouldn't even involve Harry. It would involve a person from her past, someone she hadn't spoken to in years, a name no one expected, a person she had once promised never to call again. Until now. Because now, it wasn't about a crown. It was about vengeance. And the call she made would unleash a ripple that not even the palace could contain. What Meghan did next would pull the rug out from under everything Charlotte had just been given. And what was said on that call could bring the entire house down.